Historically, ribs and pranks were a staple of wrestling.
A rib used to be, oh, haha, I put shit in your sandwich.
Yes.
That's not a rib, that's assault.
Somebody put shit in one of the rocks. You know, like I said, he used to have the to-go boxes. He used to pack food for later. And somebody in a box and put it in his locker.
There's so many stories of insane jokes wrestlers played on each other backstage, on the road, and sometimes even on television.
And they ribbed me, they went from 8 minutes to 12 minutes. I guarantee you they were at the curtain. Blenzy gotta get sick in the ring, splash off the top rope. I went right to the hospital after that. They had to put IV in me.
We'll be showcasing a mix of all three for this video.
He kept that secret until the pay-per-view. And then Vince didn't want me to tell Edge yet until right before we went out. So not only did we not tell Edge until right before we went out, but we had to change the whole fucking finish.
From the funny to disgusting, to the ones that went too far.
I remember fearing his life. Bradshaw got involved. He was crying. He was flat out, tears crying, begging for them to stop.
Today we cover countless crazy ribs and pranks played on wrestlers.
If he came out, I was going to hurt him because I felt like this is disrespecting business.
Ahmed Johnson was a foul-tempered wrestler who got a lot of heat during his time with the WWF due to his bad attitude and recklessness in the ring.
You guys trying to kill me? I'm a gang member, baby. Remember that?
GOLDUST, knowing Johnson was easy to rile up, decided to rib Ahmed during a segment where Goldie resuscitated Ahmed after he'd been knocked out. GOLDUST was meant to put his hand over Johnson's mouth when administering CPR, but instead of kissing his own hand, GOLDUST lip-locked Ahmed for real.
First aid, he's saving his life!
Johnson was scripted to then get angry and go on a rampage looking for GOLDUST. Based on the incident that had just occurred, there was no doubt some real-life frustration mixed in during Ahmed's tirade.
There's no GOLDUST! Well, he hit the cameraman!
GOLDUST kissed Johnson again during their match at King of the Ring 1996.
This is sick!
Angering Ahmed even further, to the point where he began hitting GOLDUST for real.
Because I told him, we practiced it, you know, we rehearsed it, and I told him to take his hand and put over my mouth. He thought it was going to be funny to put his lips on my lips, and I didn't think that was very funny. So the last few moments when you see him not fighting back, there's a reason for that.
But this wasn't the only incident where GOLDUST tried to get intimate with his opponent, as he played a similar rib on The Undertaker.
I look up at the audience and I just give the big old tongue thing, just the and I grab my hand like this and I put it right on his dick. And I'm just rubbing right there and I'm making these faces all sexual-like, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Taker's hot. He's mad. I mean mad. You don't want to make Undertaker mad. And he comes back and he's looking for me. God damn it, he's cussing, he's throwing shit. And Bruce had to calm him down and say, that was me, you know. I told Dustin to do that. That was a rib.
And GOLDUST, up to his typical tactics now.
Mark Henry was another wrestler with a hot-headed temper that made him a target for pranks during his early days in WWF. Henry would later learn how to better control himself as he grew wiser to the business, but there was always still a chance he could burst out if sent over the edge. And this is exactly what happened during an off-air segment on SmackDown in 2011. The World's Strongest Man was told he would be facing Sin Cara in a dark match after the show. Henry waited in the ring, but soon became impatient since his opponent was nowhere to be seen.
I said, Scott, what's going on, man? And he's like, they rewrapping his knee. That's what they just told me. They rewrapping his knee.
With no sign of Sin Cara, Tony Schimmel was told to get on the mic and thank the fans for coming.
Waiting for Mark Henry's opponent. We would like to thank you all for being a part of this evening's event.
Meanwhile, Mark Henry was still waiting in the ring, becoming more and more enraged.
If he came out, I was going to hurt him because I felt like this is disrespecting business.
Eventually, Mark returned to the backstage area to confront whoever was at the gorilla position. Only no one was there. Henry began destroying anything he could get his hands on, absolutely furious over the prank that had just been played on him.
Nobody's there, and I just started destroying and tearing down and pulling the lights. And
Vince McMahon and other key backstage personnel had orchestrated the rib so that they could beat the traffic, while the fans were still in the building, seemingly awaiting the post-show dark match.
Obviously, you don't respect me, and you damn sure don't fear me, so we don't need to talk no more.
Henry felt disrespected by the rib. It upset him so much that he attempted to quit the company, only for McMahon to talk him out of it.
Calling Vince, I was like, man, I quit. Like, this is last time, nobody ribs me, I'm a grown-ass man.
Vince showed Henry the video of him destroying the backstage area, saying that if Mark could be this version of himself on television, it would be a guaranteed hit. This proved to be true, as Henry began his Hall of Pain run, which ended up being the best work of his career, all of which came about thanks to an elaborate practical joke.
He said, if you could do that in the ring, he was like, you make a lot of money.
The substance abuse culture throughout 80s and 90s wrestling saw the boys using pills and gimmicks they were taking as part of practical jokes. This is especially true when it came to the sleep aid Halcyon. Wrestlers would sip these tablets into their peers' drinks, causing them to pass out and not wake up for hours. This was known as H-bombing. Jake the Snake Roberts explained the cruel practice on the DDP Snake Bit podcast.
And then you had some clowns that thought it was really funny if they snuck a couple of Halcyons on you. And you'd be knocked out on a plane and they can't wake you up. Next thing you know, they putting you on a gurney, taking you to the hospital to find out what the hell's wrong with you. There were guys taking advantage of girls by throwing them in their beers, and they would pass out. Of course, when they woke up, if they were lucky, the only thing that happened to them was sex. But usually somebody wanted to get funny and they'd cut off all their hair, or they'd paint their face with a magic marker, or they'd do some horrible shit to them, pass them around to guy to guy to guy. I was never a part of that. Never. I never doped anybody. I guess because I was just too damn selfish. I wanted to save it all for myself. That's what I think. But, you know.
Lance Storm saw wrestlers undergo a similar experience back in his independent days.
Hand on top of the drink. Yeah. Because they thought it was fun to just pill your friends, so if you passed out, they could, you know, strip you naked, duct tape you to a telephone pole, shave your head, or again, take your wallet and buy you a ticket to a bus to Regina, put you on the bus, was you're passed out, you just wake up in Regina with no wallet.
Brutus the Barber Beefcake was known for trying to shave his opponent's hair, though the wrestlers involved pretty much always knew ahead of time, save for Lanny Poffo at WrestleMania 6. Booker Pat Patterson hatched a plan not to tell Lanny about the post-match angle following Beefcake's win over Mr. Perfect. Perfect got away, while Poffo was the only one involved in the bout that didn't know what was coming next, as Beefcake proceeded to take the clippers to Lanny's skull.
Brutus the Barber Beefcake continues to cut away.
Speaking to WSI, Brutus gave his telling of the events and the fallout.
I went after him, and he was trying to fight me off. Put the sleeper on him, basically almost, and really did put the sleeper on him. And then I started chopping his hair, and he ran back to the dressing room and was crying to Randy, back by the curtain. There comes Randy, just eyes bulging out of his head, wants to fight. And I said, you know what, Randy, you want to fight somebody? Go find Pat Patterson and beat him up, because he's the reason it happened that way.
Beefcake always, you know, his memory is perfect, except everything he knows is wrong. Okay? Now, was Randy mad? Randy was always angry.
Sean Waltman is notorious for his ribs on other wrestlers, including the time he crapped in Sable's bag, and when he cut Michael Hayes' ponytail off during the plane ride from hell, and then nailed it to the locker room door the next night. Waltman would be the victim of a famous rib, where his eyebrows were shaved off by Kurt Hennig as Sean was sleeping. Waltman had to pose for promotional photos shortly after, one of which ended up being featured on the packaging of his action figure. Waltman continued to wrestle on television as the 1-2-3 Kid, while his eyebrows were still growing back, which made for quite a funny look.
Yeah, look at this kid.
That group of photos with no eyebrows followed him for about 18 months before he got a new one. And man, I don't know if you've ever screwed around with your eyebrows. They don't grow back fast. The rib is to take one off. So when you wake up in the morning, you're missing an eyebrow. So then you have to come up with the solution of, do I try to pencil in the one? It, I'll just shave the other one off. And when you do that, you really look humanoid.
Next we have a rib where Sean Waltman was again dishing out the dirt, as Sonny was on the receiving end of two of the most disgusting ribs in wrestling history, all thanks to Sean, one of which was the time Waltman defecated in her food on a European tour. It's also widely believed that Waltman took a dump in another rib that involved Sonny, which we'll now explain. On an episode of WWF Superstars from the summer of 1996, Sonny would be cornered by the Godwins. Phineas proceeded to dunk a bucket of their signature sop over the head of Sonny.
Sonny has been slaughtered.
The sop was usually a mix of different foods gathered together from catering. However, on this occasion, only half of the sop came from catering, while the other half came from other wrestlers in the locker room. Around 20 wrestlers were said to have donated to the sop with spit, pee, and supposedly feces courtesy of Sean Waltman.
There must have been DNA from 20 different people.
I even had to pour a little bit out because I couldn't carry it to the ring. X-Pac and Razor and Dr. Tom, had put some stuff in the bucket. I don't know exactly what it was, but Sonny got it.
This was done as a way to get back at Sunny, who had heat with many of the boys throughout her time in WWF due to her Jezebel-like behavior and personality. Waltman is also said to have once taken a dump in Mark Henry's Subway sandwich. However, it's not known for sure if Henry ate it or not, although some reports suggest that he did. Speaking to Inside the Ropes, Henry claims it was the Rock Sunch that got shat in, but didn't elaborate further.
Somebody put in one of the rocks. You know, like I said, he used to have the to-go boxes. He used to pack food for later. And somebody in a box and put it in his locker. There were several people that was like, hey man, don't get bent out of shape, don't sell it, because they're gonna get a good laugh. Take your box and just throw it in the trash. Like, man, I'm just not gonna eat today. You know, don't sell it. And he never really sold it, but he wanted to know who it was.
Next, we have another poop-related rib, although it backfired hilariously. Vince McMahon is a sucker for toilet humor, so this makes it even funnier that he was on the receiving end of a bathroom joke he instigated. It went down right before Vince was set out to go for a promo segment on Raw. McMahon wanted to mess with Gerald Briscoe in the gorilla position. Vince did this by attempting to make Jerry puke by trying to fart in his face, since Briscoe is known for having a weak stomach. Vince did the deed, which left Briscoe dry heaving, but there was a bit more than just gas that came out of McMahon's backside. McMahon had sharted in his pants, and there was no time to clean up the mess as he had to go out for his promo. Vince was forced to walk to the ring with a stain on his pants that the camera crew didn't dare shoot in fear of the consequences. When McMahon returned backstage, he is said to have changed clothes. He then grabbed the soiled briefs and chased Briscoe with them in hand. Triple H got hold of Briscoe, but Jerry escaped the game's grasp with an amateur wrestling hold. The story of Vince crapping his pants was told by Jim Ross on the Sam Roberts show in 2014.
So he turns his back to Briscoe, and I'll never forget it. Vince had a pair of khaki colored slacks. He turns his back to Briscoe to deposit something a little in the air, and it got liquid. He sharded.
Sharded, of course.
He sharded. He's wearing khakis, and he's got a brown stain. Nobody had the balls in the truck to shoot it.
Vince was angry the story got out, so he responded on an episode of Raw by telling his announcers to take shots at JR on commentary.
How would you compare his commentary to, like, well, JR? That's like comparing horse manure to ice cream.
On his YouTube page, Stevie Richards has talked about a few ribs he was involved in during his time with WWE. He mentioned being sick after a tour of Mexico, and then having to wrestle Val Venus on a house show when they got back to the US. Knowing Stevie was unwell, the agents decided to make his match longer in hopes he would throw up in the ring.
So I had that, and I got severely dehydrated, had stomach cramps. It was terrible. I was sick everywhere. What was the finish? Splash off the top rope. I went right to the hospital after that. They had to put IV in me, and they ribbed me, they went from 8 minutes to 12 minutes, knowing I was sick. I guarantee you they were at the curtain. When's he gonna throw up? When's he gonna get sick in the ring? Whatever it's gonna be. I rolled, but I couldn't walk out of the ring. Val helped me to the back after he beat me.
During his match with Booker T at Insurrection 2002, Richards had some fun since Booker legitimately didn't know Stevie's name prior to them wrestling on the show.
He legitimately didn't know my name for a long time, but he would say, this guy, and I'd say, dude, you don't know my fucking name, do you? Come on, man, come on. No, you really say my name. So when we worked in England for the hardcore title, that Insurrection pay-per-view, every time I hit him, I would say, what's my name? Like the Ali thing. And he would pop.
Even the referees enjoyed playing ribs on each other, as on Primetime with Sean Mooney, Charles Robinson told the story of when he had just come to WWF from WCW. The other WWF refs proceeded to tie Charles up and leave him in the Rock Soccer room. The Great One responded by raising his eyebrow and then laughing after seeing the message that was attached to Robinson.
So they took me and they actually taped me to a chair, taped my mouth shut, take my arms down, take my legs down. Then they put a sign on me that said, The Rock who? And they pushed me up for my first meeting with Dwayne Johnson.
Okay.
And and my finger was taped with the bird.
Oh,
so
nice.
I was giving The Rock the bird, asking him who he was.
And how did that go over with Dwayne?
Oh, he laughed. He laughed. He goes, well, who are you? It doesn't matter who you are, you know?
Too Cool and Rikishi were famous for their electric slide dance they would perform after matches. The trio would often be joined by other wrestlers, though they could never move nearly as well. Not wanting to mess up, Devon Dudley asked Grandmaster Sexay what direction to go in to start the routine before they were scheduled to join Too Cool dancing on the May 25th, 2000 SmackDown. Sexay then purposely told Devon to go the wrong way, which Dudley spoke about on his YouTube channel.
Well, I remember going out there, right before I went out there, I asked Grandmaster Sexy, I said, which way do I go? To my left or to my right first? He goes, go to your left, go to your left. And sure enough, the music hit, Rikishi goes down, Rikishi goes 1, 2, 3. I go to my left and I bump into Scotty 2 Hotty. I go, son of a bitch. I had to go back in the frame. It was difficult. I remember going in the back going, I'm gonna kill you. Why would you tell me to go left? He's laughing his ass off. He goes, I told you to go right. I go, no, you didn't. You knew you didn't, Brian. And of course, I got ribbed in the back, by all the boys. You messed up. You could have messed up everything. And the wrong person to see it is Bradshaw. When Bradshaw saw it, forget about it. He didn't let me down. He let me hear that for the next 6 months that I went the wrong way in doing that move.
Right from his debut in wrestling, Michael Cole was often the butt of jokes both on the air and off. Perennial ribber Owen Hart welcomed Michael to the WWF by pouring a bottle of Coke down Cole's pants right before an interview at Bad Blood 1997. Michael, however, no-sold it though, and stayed professional for the segment.
Can you spell the word lawsuit? Can you say lawsuit for me? Lawsuit. Lawsuit. That's exactly what it'll be.
Like with Cole and Owen, this next prank, we got to see the aftermath on camera. During an interview with Maven Huffman, Mansoor spoke about his hair getting all messed up by Ivar right before a backstage skit went live.
So I took a long time to work on my hair. We're talking about this hair. So before a segment where we were all about to go up to a wall and look at a list, it was going to be the participants in a battle royal for a #1 contendership spot for the title, right? We're all supposed to go, oh, am I on the list? Right. Am I on the list? So I do my hair, I gel it up, I get it perfect, and I'm right in front, right in front, looking at the name. And they're counting down. They go 5, 4, 3, 2, and right before 1, Ivar, the Viking, comes up to me and goes,
so you couldn't do anything. Participants, you see Mace, Jinder Mahal, Mansoor, Sheamus, Drew Gulak, Ridge Holland.
The WWE's version of Jackass was the show Swerve that aired during the early days of the WWE network. Jackass director Jeff Tremaine was in charge of the show, and one of the pranks featured a cattle prod as Paige went around shocking people backstage. However, some talent weren't allowed to be pranked. Paige wasn't aware of this though, which she explained in her book.
To allow those wrestlers who didn't want to participate in this madness and out, the WWE had issued a no prank list, and we were supposed to abide by that. And that's how Titus O'Neil got really pissed at me. I ran up to him and electrocuted him, not knowing he was on that list. I'd never seen him mad before, but now he was fucking furious. What the fuck? He screamed, absolutely losing his shit. I said I didn't want to be part of this. He told on me to Vince McMahon, who called me into his office and handled it all in a jokey way. Soraya, will you please stop picking on Titus? He said, which was so ridiculous since he's 6'4" and 270 pounds. But to be fair, I did fucking electrocute the guy.
The mystique and serious nature of The Undertaker's character has seen countless wrestlers try and make the dead man break character.
I mean, there was such a time period there where I think that was the company's goal, was to see who could get me to break. I mean, it was non-stop.
I know that you like hoes.
Wow. Well, now, wait a minute.
Go somewhere for a little vacation. That right there will make you quit being so upset. You hear me? Because right now your frown will turn it upside down.
He had gone on a vacation, and he had the camper he had rented had overheated. It was like 105 degrees. He said, I looked back there and my dog was laying on the floor just panting, and his kids were like mad at him. So we get out there and I said, you need to turn that frown upside down. You need to rent like a camper and go on a vacation. And at that point he starts to laugh.
That little baby woman,
I'm biting a hole in my lip.
For a little vacation.
And I laughed and got tombstoned, and that was it.
From trying to get Taker to do the spinneroonie, to The Rock creating the People's Elbow in an attempt to make the Phenom laugh.
I believe the first time Rock did the People's Elbow was in a match where we were trying to make Taker crack.
I always thought that was the hokiest thing ever, but iconic, right? And always to get me laughing.
Gotta be served. Oh, wait a minute. Undertaker's served. Oh, he got it.
Undertaker's hatred of cucumbers has also left him open to some funny pranks.
I hate cucumbers.
Paul Bearer opens his mouth to reveal a slice of cucumber on his tongue, at which point the dead man literally starts dry heaving in the middle of the ring.
The Undertaker threw up all over Waffle House because there was a cucumber floating in his iced tea.
One of the best ribs played on Taker was executed by Kurt Angle overseas.
I love you, man. Later on that night, we were in the plane. He came over and he put his nose this far away from my nose. And I woke up and he goes, I just want to tell you, I could get you at any time. I'm not saying that he enjoyed the kiss, but I think he got a kick out of it. It was music.
Stone Cold Steve Austin is a wrestler who loves a good rib. An example of a rib he played happened during a match versus Shawn Michaels at a live event from Q8 in May 1996. Instead of his usual black attire, Austin opted to wear neon pink wrist tape and armbands that he borrowed from Bret Hart.
He put it over. He smiled a couple times, but Shawn's got that long hair, so he was able to cover his mannerisms up, but I popped him pretty good. But it was just a rib, because when I came out there, everybody was used to seeing me, black trunks, black boots, black vest, that's it. So the pink kind of popped.
It was a surreal look for Stone Cold, but that's what made it such a funny rib. Austin rocked the pink in order to try and make Michaels and referee Earl Hebner laugh. Vince ribbing his wrestlers is a common theme of this list, since few could get away with playing a rib on TV other than the Boss, or better yet, a pay-per-view, as McMahon would fool Edge ahead of his hair vs hair match against Kurt Angle at Judgment Day 2002. It was always intended for Angle to lose the match, since he was naturally balding. However, Vince coerced Angle into making Edge think he was the one that was going to be losing his hair instead.
Shane is the one who said, yeah, I think they're going to shave your head. Kurt and Shane think, obviously I'm pretty gullible and I believe it. So I acted like I believed it. I didn't believe it. Let's face it. I knew what Kurt's head looked like. And I knew what mine looked like. And I knew what mine would look like without hair. And nobody's making money with me bald.
Vince kept the ruse up until right before Angle and Edge went out for their match.
Shane all day is trying to convince me that I'm getting my head shaved, getting my head shaved, getting my head shaved. And he will, to this day, he'll say that I bought it. Now, there might have been a percentage of me who was like, this is Vince and these guys. You never know. There is that possibility, but nah, I don't think so.
So I thought, Vince is going to break it to him that day. He kept that secret until the pay-per-view. And then Vince didn't want me to tell Edge yet until right before we went out. So not only did we not tell Edge until right before we went out, but we had to change the whole fucking finish. Because I was slated to win and Edge was supposed to win.
Edge was relieved he wouldn't be shaved bald, but the fact he was told about the decision last minute meant that Edge didn't have time to figure out how to use the clippers, meaning Angle's scalp took quite a pasting during the haircut. Next, we have a Vince rib that played out on television. It occurred on the December 21st SmackDown from 2010. Big Show came to the ring dressed as Santa, bearing gifts for the audience. Show got into the ring and went to sit down to read a Christmas story to the crowd. But as soon as Show sat in his seat, the chair collapsed, sending the world's largest athlete to the ground.
That's what I'm all about, is benevolence. Santa, go in there and help him up. Santa Claus has gained a little bit of weight this year.
One might think Show's weight forced the chair to crumble under the immense pressure. However, Vince ensured the chair was gimmicked ahead of time, so that when Show went to sit in it, it would give way. Former WWE writer Freddie Prinze Jr. revealed Vince's plan for this segment on the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
Big Show was going to sit in when he was going to read a Santa Claus story, was going to break when he sat in it. And I was just like, oh, Jesus. He's like, and you better not friggin' tell him. Like, what am I going to do? I told Big Show. And Big Show didn't care. He was like, I'll play it off.
Vince knew that few would dare to rib the chairman back. As such, McMahon went so far as to prank the USA Network on live television. Given that WWE's flagship show Raw aired on USA, Vince saw fit to draft the brand's biggest star, John Cena, to SmackDown on the April 25th, 2011 Raw. McMahon most likely did this, not just to F with USA, but also to show them who is boss and that he has the final say over everything. Former WWE writer Freddie Prinze Jr. revealed the prank on his podcast.
When I worked there, Vince would mess with them. Like on the draft, one year he drafted John Cena, which was the only ratings Monday Night Raw would get. He drafted him to Friday Night SmackDown, and USA freaked out and started calling. And this was in the script, so we already knew. And he did it just to screw with the people that he basically leases his show to. So that's how little say they.
Vince also got his kicks messing with Michael Cole and Zeb Coulter on the November 29, 2013 SmackDown. On the show, Titus O'Neil got sick all over Cole and Zeb.
Stop him! Oh, no! Oh, get away from me!
In wrestling, puke is usually gimmicked with various food particles mixed together. This was supposed to be the case here. However, as well as the fake vomit, Titus ended up blowing chunks for real. That's because he purposely overate in the previous segment, which was a food eating contest. Bizarrely, Cole was told over headset by McMahon not to acknowledge what happened. JBL revealed this in a Q&A at the 2021 Steel City Con.
And Michael's out there with puke all over him,
And he says, I feel like I'm in a freaking frat party back in college. And Vince goes, don't acknowledge it. Don't acknowledge it. Don't say a thing about it. Michael's like, I'm covered in puke. You had a guy puke on me and you don't want me to talk about it.
Happy Thanksgiving, Michael. It smells like a college bar out here. What are you doing in a college bar?
Zeb Coulter hadn't been told he would be involved in O'Neill's Barf Fest. Vince instead informed Titus to target Zeb, but by the time Coulter realized this, it was too late. Zeb, also known as Dutch Mantel, explained the incident on his Storytime podcast.
I had a job, so sometimes you put up with a bunch of crap. Everybody knew about it but me. Vince looked at me and went, hey, pal, thanks for not bitching and complaining about that rib yesterday. It was my idea.
JBL is involved again here, but this time he was the one dishing out the rib, if we can even call it that, since this one plays out more like a punishment. It went down in 1999 after Shawn Stasiak was found to be secretly recording candid conversations with the wrestlers.
I'll play a joke on it. I'm going to record them on when they start bitching and complaining. It was just a rib that I was going to play it back.
Naturally, Stasiak's travel partners, Steve Blackman and the British Bulldog, flipped out when they learned what was going on.
He asked me, he said, you weren't recording with that in the car or anything, were you? And this is where I went wrong. I lied. I said no.
Back then, Wrestlers Court would be a typical way of sorting this all out, but Stasiak's crime went beyond that.
Had the whole locker room there staring at me with my bag out. I had my clothes torn, all the cassette tapes all scattered all over the floor, busted tapes in the garbage can. I mean, it was just a really, really bad look for me.
The boys led by Bradshaw got their revenge to the point where Shawn was driven to tears. And it only got worse because shortly after this, he was fired in front of everyone by Jim Ross per order of Vince.
I just think it was socially immature. He was a little naive. Once you lose the confidence and the trust of your teammates, there's not really any compromise or coming back from Conrad. It's not funny, it's not a rib, it's not cool.
Pete Gas told all in an interview with Jonathan Coachman on the Behind the Turnbuckle podcast.
I remember fearing his life. They took, because Bradshaw got involved, and I mean, they were taking his gear and taking scissors to it, cutting it up, and just, he was crying. He was flat out, tears crying, begging for them to stop. And he thought he was going to get killed. He really thought he was just, he knew he had fucked up.
Coach also told a story about ribbing Stasiak after he'd returned to WWF in 2001. Shawn was doing a pre-tape promo but kept messing up. Then after finally doing a botch-free take, Stasiak thought he was in the clear. In actuality, Coach and others behind the camera knew Shawn was going to screw up constantly. The plan worked, since the intention was to show Stasiak botching on the show. Instead of the actual promo, he thought he was coming in to film.
So they came to me and said, Coach, bring Stasiak into the pre-tapes room and do whatever you can to mess him up as many times as you possibly can. So he gets done. He's like, God, I can't believe you guys messed me up. Was the last one good? We're like, man, it was fantastic. So we're sitting in there when Raw starts and they play the video and they played it with all the mess ups in it.
Take 23, take 32, take 41.
Don't say the number.
I've lost count.
People thought before Steve, sorry. You know, for Shawn Stasiak, it's
Stasiak is running directly toward me. He wants to fight me. He is so pissed. And I go, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, think about how over you just got. He stops for a second, looks around, he's like, yeah, you might be right. Do you think I'm over? I go, I think you're over. And literally, I flipped him like that.
Hornswoggle has been the victim of numerous pranks over the years, like when the wrestlers exposed his fear of chickens by letting a live one loose under the ring. In 2014, the former Cruiserweight champion was the victim of a rib that affected his appearance. That year at the Payback pay-per-view, Hornswoggle lost the hair versus mask match against El Torito. Those backstage sent word to the wrestlers to try and shave Swoggle's eyebrows while the haircut was in progress. However, Hornswoggle refused this audible and avoided losing his brows.
Get that!
Oh no! Now you use whipped cream!
Losing his hair wasn't the rib though. That came when the higher-ups told Swoggle to keep his head half-shaved until it was time to remove it all, presumably during a segment.
Picking his hair as well.
This went on for weeks as Hornswoggle realized they were playing a joke on him. He explained what happened in his book, which he read aloud in audio format.
Asked if I could go shave now, but again was told to leave it just a little bit longer. Every show I was on, I'd ask if I could shave my head, and every show, I'd be told to just wait. I knew they were ribbing me, but I wasn't going to sell it. I started reshaving patches into my hair for the shows, and wearing a bandana or a baseball cap the rest of the time. After 3 weeks, Michael Hayes finally came up to me and said, all right, the rib's done, Go shave your head.
Next, we have a quote-unquote prank that ended up getting a wrestler fired back in the day. And we're not talking about the instigator of the rib, but rather the recipient. Historically, for new wrestlers coming into WWE, it wasn't always a given that they would immediately dress in the main locker room. Depending on their level of experience or stardom, newcomers might start off dressing in the extras locker room. They would have to be invited to the TV locker room by a veteran in order to dress there. In an interview with Chris Van Vliet, Booker T talks about an unnamed wrestler who only lasted a year in WWE. Apparently, the reason they got released was because they were dressing in the main TV locker room without permission. However, the so-called rib was that Booker had jokingly told them they could dress there, when in reality, they couldn't.
Talking to me about, the guys in the other locker room, and I was like, man, forget those guys, man. Dress over here, man. Who are those guys to tell you where to dress? And all I was doing was just staring the pot. He didn't know I was getting him in more trouble. And then they ended up firing his ass. And and he didn't know why he got fired. He didn't even know. He didn't even know he was getting to eat, just by being in the TV locker room, and nobody invited him into the TV locker room. Oh, man.
Shortly after joining WWF, Big Show was paired with The Undertaker, who took the 7-footer under his wing. The partnership only lasted a few months on screen, but Taker continued to mentor the Giant long after. The Phenom often played jokes on show by making him tired during matches and making sure he ate alone at catering. Forcing him to sit on his own saddened the world's largest athlete, though Taker contends it was tough love because he was mad at Show for messing up in their match.
Remember when he made you so mad overseas on one match that you decided to play a rib on him and have everybody not talk to him? Nobody talked to him on the bus. Then we got to catering, nobody would sit with him, and then he finally sat with...
He sat by himself, Valley Dave.
No, everybody moved first.
Yes,
he said when he comes
down.
and sits down, let's all move. Show sits down, we all move. I thought he was going to cry. Like he was like this, eating by himself, and then Dave felt so bad that he went
yes,
and told him.
Kurt Angle took more stink faces from Rikishi than any other wrestler.
The stink face is not a sanctioned wrestling move.
Not only is it disgusting, it's not even a sanctioned move.
The Samoan usually made sure his behind was clean before going out to perform the move, but on occasion he would wear a stinky pair of unwashed underwear for wrestlers that got on his bad side.
His rib would be, he would tell the guy that he was gonna work, he would apologize to them because he just shit before he went out there to do it.
That was
Maybe it was true, but I think it was a rib.
Oh, you never know. Depends.
You got different thongs, man. When I don't like a person, I take the thong that I never take out the bag. But my ass is always clean if we want to go there.
Angle, however, met a horrific fate during his first year in the business. While talking to Chris Van Vliet, Kurt spoke of a cruel initiation tactic he endured in a match with Rikishi.
He had to go to the bathroom before the match, and he didn't wipe his butt. And he did this stink face on me. And man, talking about brown man. Yeah, it stunk so bad too, man. Oh, I went backstage. He was laughing. I couldn't. I wasn't even mad. I was like,
was this a TV match?
Yes.
Oh my God! Can you imagine the odor? The unidentified hanging objects.
Did you want to get him back?
No. I wasn't like that. I didn't play pranks on anyone. You know what? I'm an easy target. If they want to. Don't rip me.
Another bathroom-related rib involves Mr. Fuji. Fuji was considered the godfather of ribs in wrestling. That's because some of the things he did to his peers were downright criminal acts. On a European tour, Fuji defecated in Virgil's bag for 2 weeks straight. Referee Mike Chioda discussed Fuji's antics in an interview on the podcast Heat Network.
As soon as Virgil would go out to the ring, that's when he would do it too. So Virgil bought a new bag after the first couple of days, and then fucking Fuji was like, that dumb fucker. And he's a new bag. So then he got another bag, a third bag, I remember, in like 2 weeks, and he finally gave up on getting new bags, bro. And like Virgil couldn't do nothing because he didn't see him do it. Nobody would stooge him out. Put the toilet paper in there.
Oh, he puts the toilet paper in the bag too?
Yeah, he was wiping. Put the toilet paper in there. I remember he threw it in the shower.
Poor Virgil was naturally fuming each time he came to the locker room and unearthed his crap-filled bag.
Virgil sold it every week on that tour, bro. Every fucking time. And it just kept coming. Just kept coming.
And it's because of these reactions that Fuji continued the torment. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, was up there with Fuji as one of the biggest ribbers in wrestling. Perfect enjoyed playing various types of practical jokes on other wrestlers.
He was always the one that would put shaving cream in the phone and call the room. The guys would pick up the phone and they have shaving cream in their ear, and he'd always put the little hole at the top of the beer can or something, and guys would pick up their beer and pour it all over themselves. He'd pour the baby powder into the blow dryer, and the guy'd turn on the blow dryer to blow dry his hair, and it'd blow up, and they'd have baby powder all over. They'd have to take another shower.
He was famous for finding padlocks in locker rooms and of course putting them on the handles of people's suitcases and that sort of thing.
After The Undertaker destroyed Maven on the January 28, 2002 Raw.
I have no idea what's... Oh, no! Oh, my gosh!
Hennig suggested that Maven wear a neck brace in public to sell the damage that was done to him. Maven thought Kurt was being serious, so he consulted Taker about it.
He's like, man, you need to protect Taker. If I was you, I'd go out and I'd find a neck brace and wear it. And that's the reaction, because I came to you. I was like, Taker, I'll do it if you think I should wear it. And you did that exact reaction. You giggled just like that, and you went, you're all right, kid. Yeah.
As if some of our previous entries weren't bad enough, we've got an incredibly disgusting rib to close things out. First, let's set the scene. Fans will remember Rick Rude's segments where he made out with women from the audience that he had handpicked beforehand. On one occasion, the lady he chose just so happened to be Jake the Snake Roberts' mistress. Jake told the story to Title Match Wrestling.
Well, he didn't know that she was with me. And it wasn't my wife, it was this other girl. Sorry. And she come back to me, can you believe they had the gall to ask me? Get your ass out there and tell them yes.
Once the girl agreed to take part in the skit, Jake devised a gruesome plan to mess with Rude. Just before she was due to go out, Roberts met with his lady in the parking lot to carry out the first part of his deed. We'll spare telling you the graphic details, since Jake makes it pretty clear what went down in the story. There were even kids in the audience when he told this despicable tale.
She's like, what do you want me to meet you out here for? I'm like, come here. Get down on it. Get down on it. So she did, and I said, you know, don't spit it out. You save that for Rick. When he kisses you, and he's laying you down, you tell him what you did. That's when I realized I was a drug addict.
Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our similar video on 20 WWE wrestlers who return completely shredded. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.